Hi, no pressure, batting cleanup here. I have to say to John, I did not know when I came on board just a month ago that you guys were totally dedicated to lists, but I'm very, very excited because I too am a list person. I also expect that working with Chris and John is going to teach me a huge amount, and I promise I'm never going to think of you as my potential son because that's just makes me feel way too old. Way too old. So, I want to talk to you today about finding funny, and I want to talk to you about the process and the journey that I went through to basically make a major shift in my life at 47 about being what I thought was the most important thing, a very smart, a very solid member of society, working and giving back. But it was a major shift that happened for a number of reasons, and what I've entitled this presentation today is Life is Hysterical, which is actually the name of a book that I'm writing right now. And it's using humor to connect in both social media and in your lives. So I hope that all of you here, whether you're directly involved in social media or whether you're teaching how energy is going to rock the world or teaching how flash mobs and higher education are going to change, I hope that those of you who think about humor as outside or funny as outside are going to maybe just take a little bit of inspiration and bring it into your life somehow and not necessarily think about it as, well, I don't have that and I can't do that. But you can, because I've heard all of you, and it's been so inspiring for the last few days to get to know many of you and hear your stories. And I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful. So this is circa October 72, my 7th birthday. And in the front we have Maxine Brieger, and in the back we have Ronnie Javigliano, and we've got a traditional kind of more slapstick sort of funny. We have Marla the Clown. The event that I want to talk to you about happened a few months later at Maxine's birthday party. Now, I was so psyched. I had the equivalent of either a Cabbage Patch doll or what's the cool, hard-to-get toy right now these days for little ones? Pokemon. Okay, so Sweet April is the hot toy. And I am wired and I am psyched because I'm bringing it. And I had dibs on this. So I'm ready to go. And we go to her house. And her mom was a teacher. Her mom was a substitute teacher. And Mrs. Brieger was full of wonderful ideas. And her dad was an import-export. And we sat around a big lacquer round table. And I can see it like it was yesterday. I'm a very visual person. I'm a lefty. And I swear, I mean, Maxine and Ronnie, if I saw them today on the street, I probably would recognize them because they probably look exactly the same. So we go to the party, and Mrs. Brieger says, we're going to tell a story, and we're going to make the princess laugh. And that's the goal of the story. And if you can do this, you're going to win a prize at the end. So unlike parties today where everybody gets prizes at the end just for showing up, you had to earn your prize there. So I, like most 7-year-olds, am reading about World War II and the Diary of Anne Frank, because this is what I did when I was 7 years old. And I tell a story about guys and a truck, and there are tacks that are coming out behind the truck. And I'm getting in deeper and deeper, and I'm talking about some of the things that I've been learning, and I'm realizing I'm not making anybody laugh, even though this is really what I want. I'm teaching, and I'm educating, but Mrs. Brieger was so gentle and so kind, and she shifted the conversation over, and she said, you know what, Linda, that was great, but I think it's going to be Ronnie's turn now. So Ronnie, who has this big smile on her face all the time, she tells a story that's pretty much about pedicures and manicures and little girls and Cinderella and unicorns and eating ice cream. And I swear I can remember this story also. And that is a gratuitous shot of my little girl from a few years ago because she's just cute. And it served the purpose. So at that moment, along with Helen Keller, Babe Diedrichson Zaharias, Ronnie became my hero, and that's what I wanted to emulate in my life. I wanted to be the person who could make other people laugh. But I grew up in a household that did not endorse that, did not support that, and the only thing that my mom really cared about was how smart I was. But it was a battle, it was a competition, and it wasn't a healthy competition. My parents were both alcoholics. My mom less functional than my dad, And I'm an only child, and my mom is an only child, and my dad was the youngest of old relatives. So it was me growing up. And when my dad got sick when I was 12, he died when I was 15 of lung cancer. So it was not a happy environment, and I knew that the way I was going to get out of that environment was going to go to college. That was the very, very clear path for me. So I subjugated being funny. I subjugated thinking about how could I bring out what really wanted to just be a little girl and have fun and enjoy. So I went to SUNY Albany, a fun place. But of course, that wasn't where I ended up staying because I was dating a great guy who really wanted to study at University of Chicago with Saul Bellow. That was his idol. So he and I transferred together. My grandparents were so happy because they were contributing to what they thought was going to be me marrying into a really stable, nice Jewish family. And then 9 weeks into my first quarter, the guy has a breakdown, leaves, and my grandparents say to me, "Why aren't you coming home? Because he's gone, you shouldn't be there still." So I stayed. I had a fabulous experience, a very cerebral experience with occasional dots of fun thrown in. And then I went to work for very important law firms. I was a litigation paralegal, I was a recruitment person, and pretty early on I moved on to a responsible position of being a marketing director. So at 24, I'm traveling around Europe representing the North and South American partners, thinking this is what normal people do. And then I met and married my husband, and I moved over to London for a while. And I had very serious jobs. I was in recruitment, I was in marketing, and then I started consulting with my own companies when I was 28 years old, because I thought, they don't like listening to me when I'm on the inside. Maybe if I'm on the outside, they're going to listen to me a little bit better. And they did. The old 55-year-old partners, they thought it was fine to pay me lots and lots of money as long as I wasn't working for them. So that worked out really well. So these very serious jobs were intellectual, but they weren't funny. My very, very smart husband was and is a mathematician. He was a trader. He is a trader. Very analytical. A nice guy, but not very funny. This is my ex, and this is Josh. And he's probably teaching, Josh is maybe 2, he's probably teaching him how to calculate the gradients of a slope. I swear. I swear. So I also fast forward to about 4 years ago. In the midst of all of this chaos, I have a very alcoholic, dying mom. And she is very smart, and she is very angry, and she is definitely not very, very funny. And ultimately, I had this epiphany. My mom finally got to meet my kids. She didn't want to meet them for the first 6 years of their lives. She finally got to meet them a couple of times before she passed away. And I realized I have an opportunity here. My major catalyst moment, which I loved when I was asked about, I started doing stand-up, and I am funny. I just have had the wrong audience my entire life. So my mom died. We got rid of the ex-husband, and I'm freaking funny as all hell. How many people do you know actually take photos of like the bed that their mom passed away in? There's irony here. So we'll talk about different types of funny. For some reason, I took this picture. It provides great closure for me, so it's all good. So I do what most people do after a parent dies. They go to a comedy class up in Kripalu. Literally, the next day. It was Memorial Day weekend. And I had signed up for a comedy workshop. And I thought, I can do a cremation online. You can do this, apparently. I had to deal with some of the logistics. It was a Wednesday night. I had gone to see the Woody Allen Paris movie. Help me, name? Yes, Midnight in Paris, thank you. And senior moment. And you're now the third oldest employee, by the way, or third oldest person at Silverback. So the comedy workshop was given, and I'm going to give a lot of shout-outs to people who've taught me along the way. These two folks are based in LA. Greg Miller is brilliant. He works on writing. His ex-partner, I guess, Beth Lapidus, does comedy workshops. And they literally taught me how to bring out and look for funny. And you all can do this also. And if you have the slightest interest in figuring out how to be funny, I encourage you to take a class, read a book, do whatever you can to be around people who do this professionally. Because you watch evening comedy, it doesn't happen naturally. They're teams of writers. These people work jokes over and over and over. And to make it resonate, they really have to figure out what the words are, whether it's in the written form, whether it's in the verbal form. So I didn't touch anything, I swear. So specifics are funny. Use examples. They talk about a story cake. They talk about the layers of your cake and how you set things up. You can be funny depending upon what your goal is in different ways, and the idea of repetition or obsession. Chris, yesterday when they were doing questions, I loved it. He was over here, and they were passing down the mic, and he physically moved over here. He didn't say a word. He didn't interrupt the flow, but he knew how to use his body. Hello. Okay. And ultimately, if you want to bring this out, I'm giving you permission. The same way Chris was talking about yesterday, about you have a mission, you don't need permission. I'm giving you permission right now to figure out how to tap into your being funny. So that's Beth, that's Greg. I had so much fun there. I walked in and I said, I know you're all thinking that you're going to be here for a comedy workshop for the next 3 days, but actually you're here to sit Shiva with me. And I could immediately spot the Jews from the non-Jews. Shiva is the Jewish term for mourning period. So it took a very dark subject matter and it lightened it a little bit. But to me, that was my permission for starting to allow funny to get in. So then I came back to New York and I was on a roll. So I started doing some clubs. I was able to get onto Gotham. I was able to get onto the Metropolitan Room. I played Levity Live at Westchester, and I wanted to take some storytelling. Ophira Eisenberg is a wonderful storyteller. I had the incredible privilege of being taught by Adam Wade when the first guy I fell in love with after my ex and I split, we had dinner, and 6 weeks later, it was kind of the start of something, and he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And that happened while I was taking that class. And the idea that you get and you manifest what you kind of have inside of you, what has been spoken about before, I've got to do some major shifting, because if I think that this is coming from me somehow, or I've been bringing this on myself, then I have the control to change all of this. So I'm going to be taking that home, and I can't thank you all enough, because I'm expecting all positive things in life right now. So then I got asked to participate in a book and a blog called The 52 Weeks. So if you Google Finding Funny at 47, I will be the person that comes up. And the blurb is, discovering humor and vibrators around the same time could have made for a challenging situation. I could have been like the caged monkeys in the experiment and never left my bedroom. But alas, I had my children to care for and 2 companies to run. So I definitely found funny. So we're here talking about social media and talking about the opportunities that you have. And the thing that I want to say to each of you and all of you about your own respective businesses, your personal relationships, is humor is a great way of connecting with people. It enables you to actually get to know the other person on a light, but not a lower level. It's a different type of connection. And I love the fact that when I get to talk with people now, I just feel like that humor flow between us. I've always been a smiler. Everybody always said I had a nice smile, and I was always very appreciative of that. But now I think I have a great laugh also, and I let that out. And I love when people laugh back with me. So more authentic, more desirable, more connected. Okay, there's data to prove all of this. You want data? Here's your data. AT&T did a fabulous study a few months ago. Advertising Age wrote this up. BBDO was their agency. They analyzed 370 ads to find the consistently effective tools that made people have brand recognition, made them more loyal, and guess what came up as top of the list? Humor. It has to be a specific type of humor. The story can't be too complex. It has to have a storyline, it has to have a likable character, it has to have a flow and an arc, and it has to have everything that you would expect in any sort of long-form novel, a short story, a movie, but ultimately it works in 30-second commercials or 60-second videos as well. So figure out how to get this for yours. This article is online, you can find it. Visual words. I love that Chris and John and I and the team at Silverback are going to be working together to help recruit people for ideally perfect jobs for them that I hope are going to make them laugh on a daily basis and their employers laugh also. But when you think about social and you think about what content you're putting out there and you're thinking about, I can't do this. I don't necessarily know how to make a 6-second video that's going to be clever on Vine. There are tons of examples out there to watch, to learn. I have some examples later on that I'm going to also show you about LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Think about this in your own process as well. How many people here use social networks on a regular basis? Okay, almost everybody. Okay, so this was an article in Fast Company, and they gave some wonderful examples. Top left, that is an advertisement that ran on Vine, 6 seconds looping ad for Shark Week and Volkswagen. It was a double-branded ad. It was actually a stop-motion animation piece that they did graphically, very complicated to create, incredibly successful at tying the two pieces together. The shark's mouth opens up, eats the Volkswagen. This down here is a cute little guy from Southwest Airlines, Pinterest. 15,000 pinners. They give great examples and ideas on how to use planes and build loyalty and creativity through crafty projects. I don't know if you can see in the back, but that's an Oreo cookie, and it's floating in a glass of chocolate milk, and that's from a Twitter feed. And the little hashtag was, hey, did you forget something? Or hey, is something different here? And it was the idea that it was Chocolate Milk Day. And the idea that there's humor in all of these pieces. Some is more subtle, some is more overt. It has to resonate, and it has to be in line with what your philosophy is and your mission and your feeling for yourself personally or for your company. But when you find it, it works incredibly well. So the last couple of slides I have are some examples that I pulled from my own feeds. So this was a wired feed through my LinkedIn, and Hidden Persuasion is a book that's written by Mark Andrews, and it's about how advertising can really manipulate. And he talks about the fact that, you know, the scarcity principle. If you believe that there are only a few things left, you're going to go and run out and buy it. So I love the fact that he says, Hidden Persuasion is out now. There's only one copy left on Amazon. Just kidding. Memorable. Very, very memorable. I have a friend, Maria Campa, also somebody I met at Kripalu, brilliantly talented young lady, brilliant. She went to Smith. This is the bottom of her LinkedIn profile. And in her personal section, she says, study economics, run cross country, drink tea. She runs a very, very successful comedy festival in Boston when she's not doing analytics or research. This is, God bless him, my ex-husband is the gift that keeps on giving from the comedy side. He truly is. So he texts me, this is last week, he says his kids are half Korean, right? And I text back, WTF. And I said to him, something you want to share? And he says, wrong text, obviously. And then we talk about, you know, details relating to the kids won't be home, can you sign this week? You having more kids, need years to prepare. And then I added mentally and emotionally. I want to conclude with the piece that my starter marriage of 20 years ended, and we went our separate ways. But I swear that we get along better now because we actually are funny with each other. And there's a connection that we allow each other to be humorous with each other. And I don't miss the opportunity right now to give it to him when he does something like this. Whereas before I might have gotten a little passive-aggressive or just aggressive. But Now I take the opportunity every chance I get to do this. Now, this is the boyfriend of one of the women that I met up, and he is hysterical also. Kripalu is also the gift that just kept on giving. And he wrote Birdie Sleeping. And in isolation, it's a little sad. You don't want to think anything dies, obviously. But he's really one sick so-and-so. And the comments on this line were just hysterical. And I mean, if I have to pick some of the people that I want to work with in the future, this guy's a video producer, you can be guaranteed that Brian and I will have a long and healthy working relationship. So the funny challenge. What I say to you is this: embrace humor. Bring it into your life and integrate it. Don't look for something outside the opportunity. Don't be scared to let it out sometime and let your filters down, and to connect with people in a way that makes you happy and that you think is going to bring joy to the other person. And if you say something that doesn't feel comfortable, make light of it, because the other person is probably making light of it. Look for places that you can interject it. You can see why I want to do comedy and stand-up, right? Look for places that are appropriate in social media. You will get through the clutter so much more effectively than almost anything else. From an SEO and an SEM perspective, video and blogging and obviously dynamic content is going to rise to the top more than anything else that you can do organically. But I promise you, from a connection standpoint, if you can filter in knowledge and data along with humor, people remember you. They will want to deal with you. They will want to have discussions with you. It's not all about comedy. It's about connecting. And I can't thank you all enough. I literally found out I was going to come here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm scrambling. The kids are leaving for camp, and it's the end of school, and the ex is going to be in England. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to get here? Could I bring Josh and Julia? Josh actually is the reason that I ended up getting to meet Chris a few years ago, because he found the conference online. So I'm really grateful to my son for that. He was 11 at the time. He said, "Mommy, you got to take me to this." And one child, 750 people, sitting right in front of Gary Vaynerchuk. And this year, I brought him again for the keynote, and he asked Gary what ROI is. And now I'm going to go home and I'm going to tell him the alternative version of ROI. So thank you so much for listening to me waffle on. It's been my very, very happy and funny pleasure to speak with you. And I am definitely going to go get some drinks tonight now.